And we're so pleased that you could join us today for our Schools Open Drive Carefully press conference, and we'll also address Labor Day travel. So AAA started the Schools Open Drive Carefully campaign back in 1946, so it's really been around for generations. And the School Safety Patrol program has been around even longer. So these are two of the efforts that we have that really try to keep children safe as they head back to the classroom. And that message is more important now than ever before. There's so many distractions behind the wheel these days. We're asking people to put the phones down, focus on safety. Look out for little ones. Look out for those school buses. That's going to go a long way in keeping people safe. We also ask that you watch your speed and that you take your time and you're extra careful, especially in the morning hours when the kids will be getting on the bus, and then after school, after a full day of classes, they'll want to be outside playing. And, it's a two-way street. Drivers have to be aware that these school buses are out there and these little kids are out there, but also parents need to talk to the little ones about safety so they understand how to keep themselves safe if the ball goes in the street and they want to make sure they don't dart out between two parked cars. Little things like this can prevent tragedies in our community. So we're so pleased to have this great lineup of speakers here today, starting things off with Senator Timothy Kennedy and all the local police agencies that are here with us today to share this important safety message. Senator Kennedy?
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thanks.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everybody. I'm really honored again here to be at AAA of Western and Central New York. I want to thank AAA for their leadership in this annual event that's been happening for 76 years. Since 1946, AAA of Western and Central New York has been getting the message out about safety and going back to school. So I really want to recognize Elizabeth and Tony for your leadership and your team here at AAA. I want to recognize the New York State Police, the state troopers, for their continued efforts to keep our roads across New York State safe. I want to recognize Sheriff John Garcia and his leadership at the local level, along with Captain Tommy Champion, Chuck Persons at the local level in the town of Amherst, as well as Renee Pilley. We're getting the message out about safety as our kids return to school. Over 50 million children across the United States are going back to school in the next couple of weeks. Over 2 million here in New York State. There are over 50,000 buses that are helping to transport our children to and from school every single day. My children are three of those 2 million children that are going back to school. And while the kids might be looking down about the fact that they're going back to school, parents are celebrating at this time. And we're not only going back to school, but it's going to be in person, full time. So we recognize that post-pandemic, there are many challenges that we are facing, from a shortage of bus drivers to transportation needs happening all across the country. And so as we're getting back to school, it's critically important for drivers to be alert and aware of a number of things, including the fact that there's going to be increased foot traffic by our children during drop-off and pickup hours, as well as school buses returning to our neighborhoods, staggered school bus schedules for those participating in school sports programs. Whatever the scenario may be, we have to make sure that our drivers are prepared. So we have to ensure that those drivers that are getting back to work and kids getting back to school, we eliminate distractions as much as possible. As our troopers will tell you, there's no time for text messages while driving. It is against the law. It will be enforced. We have to watch out for bicyclists. It's still warm in Western New York for a few months. We have to make sure that we're doing our part to stay alert. And especially we have to ensure that drivers are slowing down, particularly in school zones, but being alert at all time for students coming to and from school. We also have to be mindful of the fact that just a few years ago, we authorized school districts to install stop arm cameras on buses. So even if the police are not around, There are buses that are equipped now with cameras that will catch drivers that are illegally passing school buses. So our intention is to ensure that our children are safe all throughout Western New York, all throughout this great state. And these are common sense steps, but they merit reminding. So we can't let ourselves forget what's most important, and that's our children and keeping them safe, especially during this time where they're returning to school. So I'm really excited about the partnerships that this program and this initiative has created over many years, and I'm honored to be able to introduce a great champion for public safety, not just in Western New York, but across New York State, and that's Trooper James O'Callahan. Thanks, Trooper.
Thank you, Senator. I'd just like to thank AAA, Senator Kennedy, and our local law enforcement agencies here. It takes a team of people to make this happen, to keep your children safe as the school season starts. Last year, in 2021, New York State Police issued 177 tickets for passing a school bus. So far this year in 2022, we're at about 117 as we go into the 22-23 school year. Now that said, it's a startling number. Those are people who were caught in the act, or at least we investigated. Now we have people passing school buses, putting your kids, our kids, not just law enforcement, but like the senator had mentioned, he's got kids. These law enforcement agencies that patrol your community more than likely have kids in your community, in your schools. And that's what we're about. We're about the safety of the community, the safety of the kids getting on and off of these buses. It sounds insane that people would pass a bus with its red lights on. Unfortunately, every day, somebody somewhere in Western New York will pass that bus. If you have any issues, call 911. Try and get a best description of the car you can. And then on the flip side of the coin, we have a lot of new drivers out there. A lot of kids are getting their licenses now that DMV's back in full swing. With that being said, we have over 70% of teens who think they can drive distracted completely fine. And the truth is you're 23 times more likely to get in a collision if you're driving distracted. Leave yourself some extra time when you go to work these next couple weeks. There will be a lot of buses, a lot of families taking pictures of their kids getting on the bus and building those memories. We don't want to make bad memories. And that's why we have a team of people here coming together to keep our community as safe as possible. And also keeping the community safe, Erie County Sheriff John Garcia, I'd like to introduce him now. Thank you.
Thank you, Trooper Callahan, very much. Good morning, everyone. I want to thank the AAA for making everyone aware of traffic safety throughout the year. I want to thank Senator Tim Kennedy for being a strong advocate for our community, for safety. Today we're talking about the safety of our kids. We've had a great summer, beautiful summer in Erie County. Now we're going to start seeing those iconic school buses, those yellow school buses back. And, the flashing lights, the school zones. And this is about protecting our kids. So please be patient, take the extra time during the day, in the morning, and in the afternoon, and give yourself extra time to get to work, to an appointment. The Erie County Sheriff's Office patrols 18 towns, villages, and Native American territories. We will have extra patrols during the school hours for protecting our kids. So what we will be enforcing are drivers that go around school buses with flashing lights or speeding in school zones. There will be zero tolerance for people that are doing so. This is not to be an inconvenience for drivers. This is to protect our kids that are going back to school. I just want to make everybody aware that what the fines are, because there will be repercussions. The fines are from $250 to $1,000, 5 points on your license, and a possibility of serving 30 days in jail. With additional violations and convictions, you could get your license revoked. You can spend 180 days in jail. Again, the Erie County Sheriff's Office is about preventing crime, preventing incidents, taking care of our children, and again, it's a great time of year. The kids are going back to school. I'm sure there's a lot of happy parents that are sending their kids back to school, and our job is to protect our youth. So please, let's have a great school season, and be careful, be safe out there. It is my honor, my pleasure to introduce our great partner at the Buffalo Police Department, Captain Tommy Champion.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. You know, as we approach a new school year, it's a very exciting time period for youth and for parents in our entire community. We'd like to just remind drivers to be cautious while operating vehicles in school zones and near school buses. You know, school buses, although they're big and yellow, they can often cause obstructions, which allow kids to have some difficulty when they're crossing the street. Drivers, when they're distracted and they're operating different technology within their vehicles, often don't see the children around or near these vehicles. So we want to make sure that people are aware and that they're conscious of children as they're driving around city areas and different county areas. Doing so makes sure that we ensure that the children are able to move about safely throughout the entire residence and entire area that they live in. Children's ages 4 to 8 are statistically proven to be the most vulnerable to this. And there's many reasons for this, possibly because of their small size and possibly because of their youth and their lack of knowledge about traffic. So we want to make sure that we are reiterating to children, if you have children in your family or close proximity, to make sure we teach them about traffic safety, looking both ways before they cross the street, making sure they pay attention to walk signs and crosswalk signs. We encourage drivers to slow down and be aware of bus lights, both yellow and red, before proceeding. We don't want to just speed forward just because the stop sign went down. We want to make sure that we check the areas to ensure that there are no children in the vicinity who could be struck by a vehicle, and most importantly, slow down and adhere to the safety laws of New York State. So as we begin this school year, we want to make sure that we're doing this in the best possible scenario to keep our children safe, and we ask for everyone to just be aware of the safety of our children when we're in the vicinities of all the schools and different community programs that kids attend. It's my pleasure to introduce Captain Charles Persons of Amherst Police Department to explain on his behalf what his department's doing.
Thank you, Captain.
Thank you.
Well, speaking after my law enforcement colleagues makes my job a little bit easier. They've covered so much already. Safety on our roadways is something that affects almost everybody in our society. However, it is something that almost every one of us has taken for granted at one time or another. With the beginning of the school year, we should expect some unique challenges on our roadways. There's a large increase in traffic, especially around our schools. Many of the drivers will be young, inexperienced motorists who are making their way to high school or college. They might be unfamiliar with the new traffic patterns that exist, especially post-pandemic. There are also special conditions that exist in the school zones. Special traffic patterns, crossing guards, reduced speed limits, far more parents dropping off their children than in the past, and an increase in young pedestrian traffic make school zones a challenge to safely navigate. While we make our way to work, run errands, or just take a morning drive, we must all exercise a little bit more patience and courteousness to other drivers. Observing school zone speed limits, traffic signs, and crossing guards will make everyone's commute a little bit safer. And as some of my colleagues already mentioned, leaving a few minutes earlier in the morning for your commute, attentiveness and driving defensively are always good ideas. Vigilance is the key to safe travels. And of course, we will have an increased police presence at the schools just in case you need a friendly reminder of how important school safety is. And now at this time, I'd like to introduce Renee Pilley from AAA.
Well, after following all that fun stuff, I have to remind everyone there's still one last weekend left. We still have a busy Labor Day weekend, and let's enjoy all of it safely. But it's a chance for the last summer road trip and a last chance for travel in itself. Labor Day is the last long weekend that we get to enjoy with our family and friends. Based on the travel reservations, domestic travel is up 22% over last year, and international travel is up a whopping 104%. So that means there's a lot of people on the roads, a lot of people going everywhere. Top travel destinations are, believe it or not, Seattle, Orlando, Las Vegas. Seattle only because Alaskan cruise vacations have been paused for so long. People are finally being able to take that trip after so many paused years. When it comes to international travel, we're looking at Vancouver, of course, for the Alaska cruises, London, and Dublin. When it comes to local road trips, AAA has seen an increase in regional and northeastern travel with people going to the Finger Lakes, the Adirondacks, in places like Bar Harbor, Cape Cod, and New Hampshire. Travelers are paying more for their Labor Day travel than ever before. The average airfare is $179 a ticket, which is almost up 20% increase over last year and 30% over 2020. Hotels increased prices are up over 50%. Car rentals, the average car rental price right now is about $89 a day, and a whopping 32% over 2020 averages. No matter where you're headed, though, please keep in mind travel is something that everybody enjoys and wants to continue to enjoy, but take your time. Make sure you take that extra time to get to the airport on time. As everyone's stressed this morning as far as giving yourself that little bit of extra time. There's nothing worse than racing to the airport or not knowing that you don't have enough time to get where you're going and causing an accident or being in an accident. Give yourself that time, that little bit of extra time at the airports or even on the roads. Pay attention to what's going on around you. Be safe, but have a great time. And now I'm going to pass it off to Elizabeth.
Thanks, Renee. You're welcome. So Renee had mentioned some of the prices being up, and I know I've had a lot of reporters ask about that. Oh, did that deter people from traveling? Obviously, the numbers are up despite the higher prices, and everything's costing more these days. So what we're seeing is a real pent-up demand for travel, and people saying, we don't want to pay this much, but we will because we didn't get to take too many vacations over the past 2 years, so now people are ready to travel, and that's what we're seeing. So a reminder to everyone, if you are taking that road trip, make sure your car is road trip ready, as AAA expects call volume to be up. We expect to rescue about 18,000 people this weekend across the state. So those numbers are up about 10% over last year. So, checking your car over, the tires, the brakes, the windshield wipers, little things like that can go a long way in preventing a breakdown. The number one calls that we get are for flat tires, dead batteries, and keys locked in the car. So a lot of those things can be prevented. So if you're taking that last summer road trip, please make sure you're prepared. And we got some great advice from our law enforcement partners that were here today. And I just wanted to mention one other thing, that we have an extensive driver training program here where we train a lot of teen drivers in-car instruction, classroom instruction, so that they understand the rules of the road. So on behalf of all of our driving instructors, we just want to remind everyone, if you do have teen drivers at home, please talk to them about that cell phone use, like Trooper O'Callahan mentioned. You don't think your teen drivers will emulate your behavior, but they really will. If they see mom and dad on the phone or texting when they're driving, they're going to think it's okay. So it's really important for parents to talk to these teen drivers and make sure they understand it's a family rule. We don't use the phone behind the wheel. And that's going to go a long way in preventing these tragedies with the young drivers. I know a lot of seniors in high school are ready to drive to school for the first time, so we want to make sure that they're doing that distraction-free. And now I'd like to invite one more special guest up here today. His name is Dylan Was, and he's representing our school safety patrol program. And so, Dylan, what grade are you in?
Fifth grade.
Fifth grade, and that's usually the grade that we have the school safety patrol program kick in. So a lot of these fifth graders become leaders at the elementary schools, and they'll sign up to be part of the school safety patrol program. So they'll help get the little ones on and off the bus, like the kindergartners and the first graders. So it's an opportunity for them to have this leadership opportunity, and also make sure that we're sharing that safety message throughout the schools. So AAA provides the school safety patrol materials to schools across the region. So you see the safety belt that he has on, and we have manuals and pins and prizes and everything else that we send out to all the schools. So we fulfill those orders every summer. So hopefully, weather permitting, we have a photo op upstairs where Dylan can help some of the police officers put a special message and a bumper sticker on the car. How does that sound? Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Dylan or any of our other speakers?
Well, Dylan, first of all, I was in safety patrol too. So,
There you go.
It is a good life lesson. But Trooper O'Callahan, if you could.
You can stay there, Dylan. Okay.
You got to speak.
You talked a lot about distracted driving. Obviously, phones are everywhere. Everybody's got phones. Can you just kind of go over? Is it okay you can't use your phone while you're driving? Can you use it at a stoplight? What about just your GPS? You're switching music. Can you just go over the overall of using a phone in the car?
You want to stay up here for this? You want to roll? Now you can go back.
So one of the things we look at, and this is local law enforcement agencies as well, if you're moving the vehicles in motion, you have to use a hands-free device. That's a no-brainer. What we're seeing, a lot of young drivers, inexperienced drivers, I should say, 18 to 25, they believe that they can drive their vehicle safely while using a device. This means texting, calling, having the phone in their hand, checking whatever it is, social media. Some people are even doing Zoom interviews while they drive their vehicle. You will be stopped, you will be ticketed. It's a zero tolerance. You're looking at 5 points. And the fines are pretty heavy on that as well. But that's where most of our accidents are coming from. They're coming from that area. It's DWI, it's distracted driving. There are 2 leading causes of all traffic collisions, compounded with speed. A lot of times you see the person in front of you all over the road, they're speeding up, they're slowing down, it creates road rage. Most of the time, it's because somebody is using their phone while they're driving the car. If your car is not in motion, completely stopped at a stop sign or stop light, theoretically, yes, you can check your device. But the second your car is in motion is the second that device needs to be a hands-free device. Now, with that being said, you said radios. Obviously, there's equipment in the car that's designed to make it easier while you drive. A lot of the stuff is on your steering wheel at this point. We recommend using those items. Always, if you're going to mess with something in your car, radios, or you're adjusting something, or it's going to take you a couple seconds to look at that computer monitor to adjust the heat. Do you want it on defrost or do you want it on your feet because they're cold? Take a second, do that when you're stopped. It's those little minute movements that you do in a vehicle. You'll travel hundreds and hundreds of feet given your speed. Most people are doing 35 miles an hour or more. You're going to go hundreds of feet within a second, and by then it might be too late if that person's walking their dog, running, a school-age child is walking across the street and you're not paying attention. It will only take that fraction of a second. If you have to make adjustments, do it while you're stopped. And that goes with onboard displays, car, vehicle, things like that. Anything else while I'm here? All right.
Another thing touching on that, AAA has done extensive research from our Traffic Safety Foundation, and it shows that there's a level of cognitive distraction that if you're using the phone at a red light, it takes at least 30 seconds for your brain to focus on the task of driving again. You can travel a long time in that distance. So people are still thinking about that phone. And so there's that cognitive distraction there. So you really want to avoid using the phone even at a red light. You're better off just, like Trooper O'Callaghan said, pulling over, parking, and using the phone and doing it safely. Does anyone have questions for anybody else? Okay. Well, thank you so much to all of our law enforcement partners, all the media that came out here today. We really, really appreciate your partnership in getting this message out. And we will go see what the weather's doing out there and see if we can get a photo op upstairs. Thanks.